Welcome to my house.
Why do we keep doing that?
And to another episode of the Back Catalogue podcast. This is a podcast where we, and by we I mean me, Apple, my co-host / co-founder Vincent. We dive into the streaming service. We tell you, the listener and the viewer, what is worth it and what is not.
How are you getting worse at this podcast?
Because it's ozploitation August. We're still in August.
Bro, we're not August. And then one of our Patreon members wrote it as Oz, O-Z, which threw me because I was thinking Oz as A-U-S.
You were always thinking Oz as A-U-S.
Yeah.
It's always been O-Z.
Yeah, but that's not how I was doing it.
Dude, it's always been
That's why I was saying August or April. But men's are saying ozploitation October.
Oztober.
Oztober. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I mean, either I'm wrong or he's wrong. And I'm not wrong.
Can I tell you something that's right, though? You sign up to the Patreon for the free trial. It's only 7 days, but it's free. And you get all the content there. And we've had people sign up for the free trial and they've got content. And they've said, wow, this is content.
That's what all the comments are just, wow, this is content.
And take that as you will, you know. But what we're going to take you into is 1978's very own. What's this movie called? Long Weekend. Now, is it the King or the Queens?
I mean, I think we got the King and the Queens.
I think it's only one, man.
See, surely, the Queen, the last one was how long? 60 years ago, 50 years ago?
What?
I don't know. I don't care. The last king.
Oh,
king
right.
or queen or whatever.
Yeah.
Give us two. Give us 2 long weekends.
Give us 3.
I'm saying that as if it's the fault of the United Kingdom, but it's our government that...
Yeah, I mean, the United Kingdom aren't coming over here and saying, like, Oztober is the long weekend for the Queen.
And it should be, though.
It should be. And listen, this is why it should be, is because, like, everyone needs a break. And if you're needing a break, come listen to this podcast because I've got facts for you. Now,
and also, we've got get rich quick schemes after this.
We got to get rich quick schemes.
Got to get rich for the Patreon.
Oh, for the Patreon.
Yeah.
So you got to pay to play.
You always got to pay to play.
This has got the 6.6 out of 10 on the IMDb. It's got the 88% on the Rotten Tomatoes. 3.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Oh, Letterboxd.
Letterboxd is back, baby.
Letterboxd is back.
We should do the Letterboxd Chronicles, where we just do like Letterboxd movies. Peter and Marcia. Marsh. A bitter married couple teetering on the edge of divorce take a camping trip to heal the rift between them, which is hilarious. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
As the weekend progresses, the selfish pair engage in reckless behavior that demonstrates an increasing disrespect for their natural surroundings. When Peter and Marsh become the targets of a series of inexplicable animal attacks, it becomes clear that an angry Mother Nature has come to exact her revenge.
I'll tell you what's clear.
That their crime was against nature? And nature found them guilty?
Brother, I'm telling you, this is just 2 people who don't know how to camp.
This is 100%
That's all the movie
how
is.
to camp.
Regardless of whether the animals were out to get them or not.
Yeah.
Like if the hills had eyes, if the trees had noses, regardless, I'm telling you, one of them would have left with a harpoon and one of them would have left like as roadkill.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Like there didn't even have to be any Mother Nature action. There didn't have to be any ghouls, goblins, ghosts. It just had to be these 2 people going out camping.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're going to get into a couple of things in this podcast.
We're going to break down exactly all their mistakes that they made over the course of this movie.
Yeah. One of them was getting married.
And the other one was staying married.
And staying married. Like they were teetering on divorce, but like I think like divorce should have just happened. Like the teetering was just merely to make this movie. And I mean, these aren't real people, so like their divorce is like neither here nor there, but like the teetering part is just to make this movie and to build some tension that is just wild to me. So the story is exactly that. This couple, they go out camping on a long weekend. The wife doesn't want to go. The husband really wants to go and he wants to bring his dog along. And they just go out there and they don't communicate.
So mistake number 1 is they leave to camp and they get there in pitch black darkness.
Yeah.
But they also don't know where they're camping.
And the only signs that they have are little etchings on a tree.
Yeah. Which if I'm going camping and I'm looking at signs like that, I'm turning around.
If I see a little arrow that's been carved out on a tree by some sort of ghoul or goblin, like
because that was
else.
1978's very own. They had signs.
They had signs.
They had the ability to create signs.
I mean, people had colour TV. You know what I'm saying? They're making ozploitation films. They had colour TV.
They were ozploiting in colour.
Dude, if you're going to ozploit anything, it's going to be in colour. And that's exactly what they did. So these people from the get-go have messed up. They've gone out. They have no plan as to what they're going to do when they get there or if they get lost.
They don't even know if this place exists.
They're just driving.
They're just driving. The locals at some pub are saying, hey, I haven't heard of that place.
Like, we've never been there. And it's only you're saying it's 45 minutes from here?
No, they were saying it was 5 miles down the road.
Well, that's even closer.
It's absolutely even close. Well, it depends how fast you walk or drive.
That's exactly right. If you're running, like, you might get there in that time.
5 miles is not that long.
I mean, dude, that's what times that by 1.6.
But that's long.
That's long.
That might be 45 minutes.
That's more than 45
That's
minutes.
like 45 Ks.
That's like 45 Ks.
Jeez.
But yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of things pointing them in the direction that this isn't going to work out well for them.
And the number one point is that, hey, you guys can't camp. Like, you don't know how to do this.
So let's get into before we get into like the plot and the themes and all those sorts of things, let's get into their camping skills.
Yeah.
Because these people, they get to the place. They do find the place that they were looking for, I think.
Well, they don't at the first night. They sleep in their car.
They do, but they're like 5 minutes like a walk from the beach where they wanted to be.
That's right. And effectively, they're not even at a camp spot. They're just in the shrub.
Yeah, and look, like this is why the crime was against nature, because you can't just drive into the scrub and start setting up camp.
Just go, hey, no, officer, nature. There was an etching on the tree.
You told me to come here.
Yeah.
You can't be in New South Wales and see a Tasmanian devil either, but they did that.
See, they had that straight out the gate.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that's a Tasmanian devil. I don't think, like, this man's got Victorian number plates.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the maths. I'm thinking 5 miles down the road. It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. Because you're going to have to at least get on a ferry to get to Tasmania.
And you don't want to go to the Bass Strait.
You don't want to go to the Bass Strait.
Because heads will go there, but they won't return.
Especially when like dark mofo's on.
I don't know what that is, but they call it a strait, but
it ain't straight, dude.
It ain't straight, man.
It's STRAIT.
That's how they get
what I mean? That's
they go,
get you.
what do you mean?
It's the straight.
It's a straight.
Brother, I had to turn 3 times. Now, they get to this, they eventually, they wake up the next day, they realize they're close. The husband sets up, and they're teetering on a divorce. So like, will this be the husband in a couple of days? You don't know. But he sets up camp. Now, man sets up this big old tent. Now, look, he didn't put a tarp down. That's okay because they've got like stretchers. So they're above the grass.
Yeah.
But for the entirety of the time that they are there, in the Australian bush,
Tent's open.
Wide open.
Well, were you born in a tent?
100%, right?
And they would answer yes to that question.
And like whenever people say that, it's like, why am I leaving my tent door open?
That's right. People who would have been born in a tent would know the tent lifestyle that, especially now, you at least have the fly screen.
Oh, brother.
Thing.
You got to have at least the fly screen. Because you get a snake in there, it ain't going to be just in your boot. It's going to be elsewhere. And you don't want a snake elsewhere, man.
I did enjoy the random nature shots of just animals.
Well, this is what this movie is. So this movie eventually just becomes like nature is just drawing in on them, and it wants to kill them in any way that it can. And a way that it does that is by just driving them both crazy in different ways.
Yeah, see, and like we said at the start, they didn't need any help.
They didn't need any help. They were going. They're teetering on divorce, but they're also teetering on madness. One of the things that I really loved about this movie, and I will compare it to last week's Patrick, was that they brought in. I think they did a pretty good mix of the world out there is scary. There's some ominous force that is trying to get rid of them. That is scary, but also their relationship and the people are scary. So I'm like, I don't feel safe at any point. You've got the husband who he's just like out there just drinking long necks, right? He's walking around.
He's drinking long necks, but he's also just shooting. He's just shooting. And there were so many times that he was just unloading the whole magazine, and I'm thinking this lady's going to die by a straight bullet, and evidently she does.
Yeah.
not by a stray bullet, by a harpoon straight in the neck.
Dude.
Which was...
We'll get into that scene because that's a wild scene.
I'm telling you, the ending of this movie was kind of hilarious.
That part was hilarious because, like, well, let me just explain, like, what the ominous things that are going on in nature.
All right, tell the ominous
it sort of leads into that.
They're talking about, like, the dugong that it's dead, but it creeps slightly closer.
Yeah, and they refer to it as a bunyip.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, like, a bunyip is you know, that's in Aboriginal culture. That's a creature that is like can live in the water and come onto land. I'm not sure whether it's an evil creature or not, but the bunyip is it's within our law.
Yeah.
Right. And this man refers to this dugong as a bunyip, and he has shot the dugong several times, but the dugong just keeps marching forward, and it keeps making this noise of like someone yelling and something crying. Is real scary. Like if you were out in the outback and you started hearing that noise, which sounds like a baby crying mixed with like a man yelling.
Yeah, see this movie feels like the reason that people think that Australia is dangerous.
Yeah, and people did think that because like this movie went off in overseas. This was a critical and financial success overseas.
And this movie sucked.
And it was not critically or financially acclaimed here in Australia.
It's not a good movie at all.
I would say that it's has elements
slightly better than Patrick.
It is better than Patrick. I would say that it has elements of what could be a really good movie though.
There was, it was similar to Patrick in that it was just meandering and nothing really happened.
It didn't for a lot of the movie, did it?
And then at the end, which is, I'm going to talk about that now because that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because what's his name? Greg.
Hargraves. I don't know what his
whatever
name is.
The dude's
Whatever
name.
that dude's name is.
The dude's name, whatever
His
it
name's
is.
Peter.
Peter.
His name's Peter.
Okay, Peter. All right, I can remember that. Peter is, he's terrified. Marcy's run off with the car and then she's ended up running around the shrub because she's crashed.
She crashed into spiderwebs.
Which, I mean, if you see spiderwebs like that, I'd be running away as well because they were huge. And he's there. He's sitting there with his dog. He's holding his harpoon gun. He's looking around, left, right. He's hearing manatees in the background or dugongs or whatever.
Could be bunyips.
And he just shoots the harpoon.
Well, initially he's shooting his sniper.
Yeah.
He's shooting it up in the air because he thinks there's a bird. Like there's flapping. There's
so
screaming.
At one point he shoots up in the air, and then a shoe falls down.
Yeah, something falls down, right?
A shoe. And I'm thinking, he's looking at it like it's significant. But I'm thinking, I didn't see no shoes on anyone because they were barefoot for most of this.
Yeah.
This movie. So
and bare-chested.
Barefoot and bare-chested.
You know what I mean? And that's what you do on the Australian beach. But I think, anyway, there's that scene. He's just shooting everywhere.
He's just shooting. But the funniest thing is he's shooting. It's pitch black. He's shooting. There's some noises. He shoots the harpoon and there's no noises. And it's very clearly not human noises. It's
birds, it's bees, it's all those things that your parents tell you about.
It's the outback, that's right.
Yeah.
And he's there, and then you look in the morning and he's looking, it's got a shot of him and he's looking at into the distance, and you can tell he's just gone, man, like what's happened? Like how have I got myself into this mess? He's looking at, and you expect a little speech bubble to say like, oh bother.
Yeah.
And you look over the other side, he's Charlie Brown, and you just look, and that lady she's just dead, and there is a harpoon in her neck.
Yeah, she's just in a tree with a harpoon in her neck.
In reality, that would not be hilarious, but this is hilarious in this movie because it was almost expected, but because it was almost so expected that it was unexpected that it actually happened. And that.
You were expecting those bullets to just come back down and hit him.
I don't know what I was expecting.
Because he aimed at 12 o'clock. He aimed right up. So this movie, I think, does a very good job of building suspense through just not giving you enough of the
I don't even think it was suspenseful.
I think that...
But it was also probably because after last week with Patrick, I was just expecting it to be, this is suspense, but it goes nowhere. Which is what happened.
The issue that it had was that a lot of the time they were building this suspense, but I don't think it went nowhere Because I think that if it
Well, I mean,
was,
they both died, so no, it
That's
didn't go
right.
nowhere.
I think that if they had done a really suspenseful movie, and then at each time that they built up suspense, a possum jumped out the tree, like that would be a
No,
lesser.
I'm not saying that they could. I just feel like it wasn't actually suspenseful.
But what it did, this is what I'm trying to get at. What it did was it gave you the idea that these people are going crazy with each experience that they have. So the experience might be that one man's out swimming or surfboarding, and there's some figure in the water, right? And then people are screaming. Marsha's running down the beach. She's half naked, and she's saying, "Get out the water."
And he's got a long neck.
And he's drinking long necks while he's swimming, right?
I will say there were a lot of good aspects to this movie, and I think there were some interesting parts, especially when they didn't see that there was a van down the road, down the beach, and there's no van, and their man's goes swimming, and the van is just at the bottom of the ocean, and there's just a lady in there.
Yeah, and her dog is just left on the beach.
Yeah.
So these elements I really like, because they're like, this is leading these people into madness.
Yeah.
And the next part of it is that they just can't escape. So Marsha can't escape.
You're making me think that I like this movie more than I did when I was watching it.
Well, this is what I'm trying to do here. Whoa. And that's Vincent like realizing he loves this movie.
That was an accident, but it kind of worked.
That scared the sheepers out of me, man.
Jeez.
So there was a lot of time throughout this movie where I was like, this is fantastic, but if they had remade this movie in today, and they used just the same elements of suspense, they used the same music, they used all of that, but they just made the story maybe a little bit more tight. Yeah. And especially the relationship with them just a little bit more. Like I don't believe that they were ever married.
I think that was also it just all seems so stupid.
Yeah,
I think because they look like they didn't. I guess from the start I was thinking these people don't know how to camp. What are they doing? I mean, I didn't read the synopsis, but he was obviously pushing her to go camping, and she didn't want to go camping.
He was, man.
And if someone doesn't want to, camping is not the thing that you go, no, you like it when you get there.
Because you ain't going to like it when you get there if you don't.
No.
And I mean, unless you go on glamping, you got the shower.
That's different.
You got the shower, you got the comfy bed.
That's
looking
not camping.
At the lights. I mean, it's glamping.
But it's not camping.
It's glamorous camping.
But it's not camping.
I mean, if we looked up the definition of camping and glamping, like there's just the glamour is the only thing that's different.
I mean, there's a GL.
There's a GL.
And because you don't need good luck.
You don't need good luck if you're glamping, but like, look, if you're out and outback, if you're out in, if you're out in New South Wales, Tasmania, or Victoria, wherever they were in this movie,
they were in all three of those places.
Like, you might need help.
You might need help
because you fall into some sort of vortex.
I think the reason why I've disliked this movie is because it didn't seem like they were just amicable at all throughout the whole. There were parts, but it just didn't seem like it at all. Also, the dude, that's another thing, and.
One of the issues with this movie as well is that let me just get into my point what I was going to say. If they have remade this movie now with I think that the music that they used in this, the sounds that they used in this were like 100% terrific. I feel that it was much more similar to, those synths that were coming in. Like that reminded me of Halloween when I was watching this. And I was like, this is a good way of building suspense through these synths, through the music, through the natural. I don't know if that's mise en scène, or I don't know if that's like diegetic or non-diegetic, but it's one of them.
It might just be a miss.
It might be a miss. And, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. But if they remade this movie today, and apparently they did remake it in 2008, I haven't watched it.
Apparently they did remake it today?
I would 100% go to the cinemas to watch it because I'd be excited to see what they could do with it. I'd be
interested to see, a dude run onto a road and just get absolutely squashed by a truck again.
Flatlined, right?
That honestly, the end of this movie was pretty good. And also, you know what scene was really good? When he was running through the shrubs in pitch black dark and he was feeling around with his arms to not hit the tree. Yeah. That was fantastic until he comes out and it's bright, it's day.
And this is what was another reason that I thought this movie was cool, because it reminded me of some of the Evil Dead things. It reminded me of some of those horror movies where it's like, you have been put into this place that you can't escape. Like it's like the Yabba, right? You can escape it, but your mental state has been pushed into a space where you cannot escape this area.
Can you imagine if he goes out into the road and he looks over and it's the yabba.
Dude, I mean, that's a crossover.
And then
crossover.
what's his name? The sheriff is there, or the sheriff, the policeman is going, hey mate, have a beer. and that's the movie.
And then that's the movie.
And that's it.
Dude, if that happened,
honestly,
would you be sitting here right now thinking like
I'll be thinking this is the greatest movie of all time.
This is the greatest crossover
I'm thinking,
of all time.
move over Michael Jordan. Here we go, long weekend.
That's
but
right.
the thing is, I'm thinking about that. If every movie that was set in Australia ended with them somehow going to the yabba,
They're just in the yab.
I feel like it would make all the movies better.
I mean, should we make a movie in which, like, we're getting chased by bunyips and or yowies,
I mean, wow, it's a yowie in the yabba.
and then you end up in the yabba?
I mean,
And the last line is, "Hey mate, you want a beer?" You don't even see the sheriff.
yeah, that's right.
You know?
Because we can't get him.
'Cause he's dead.
He's dead. But also, we can't afford that.
We can't afford that sheriff, man.
The only thing we can afford is our time, which is basically worthless.
It's not money, but if you go to the Patreon, it is.
Not for 7 days. So.
One of the yeah. So I did enjoy elements of this movie. One of the things that I didn't like with this movie, and I think this made it quite like I was just like, man, this isn't real to me. Was the fact that this lady has every right to be in the mood that she's in throughout this entire movie, yet she's made to look like the bad person a lot of the time. You know, there's times where she sleeps in her car. There's times where she's like, I don't want to be, sexually active with you because of things that have happened to me. And the guy's like, I'm just going to go drink a stubby and be an Australian,
Be Australian and start shooting at the wind.
Start shooting at the wind with my dog. She...
Also, man just leaves the dog at the end.
He runs out.
He just runs out. The dog's looking at him going...
I'd be rolling with that dog till the end because that dog's at least going to bark at a bunyip coming close to me.
Oh, absolutely.
And the dog might fight that bunyip for me.
And then you got time to get away.
Then at least I got time to I'll throw a couple hands in as well.
You just throw a couple punches and then leave.
So she is made to be even in the synopsis that we just read, she's made to be the villain, not the villain, but a villain. Listen to this: the selfish pair. They refer to them as a selfish pair. This lady has been.
This lady's done nothing wrong.
Look, she's not in a good mood.
But regardless of anything that happened in their lives previous, she went camping. She won't go camping.
And at one point she goes, "This is uncomfortable. Like we got weird stuff going on. Can we leave?" And he's like, "Mate, this ain't the yabba. We're gonna stay here and then we're gonna leave." Because she thought she was forced to stay there.
Yeah.
Literally, she was.
Yeah.
And I think that was. It didn't make sense. These movies have been focusing on, I mean, not all the movies, but these movies have come at a time in which there's important parts in females' lives, in the world, in bringing people together. And this was a movie that was just like, hey, look, the female's going to complain, and we're just going to have to fucking take them camping, And you'll put a flip in that.
And I'll just mark this episode as explicit because I don't do editing these days.
You know what I mean? This is not the message that I thought that they would be going for in this ozploitation film.
I mean, that's not really the message that they're going. I think
It's
that's
not
just.
a message,
I think that's
no.
just. This is the mindset of Australian males.
Or it's the mindset of someone that's thought, what about if we go into nature and nature fights back? And that's
And
a
also,
movie.
mate, my wife's really been getting on my nerves.
Yeah,
How's the missus? Oh, what a headache.
Yeah,
that's the
mentality.
That's the mentality.
Yeah. And you'll be stuck in the yabba, but at least every single person in the yabba was a male, except for that one lady. So that's why men wind up in the yabba.
That's what I mean. Just that one. That's why she's got a screen in front, between her and the men.
That's exactly right, dude. That's exactly right. But I think that this movie could have done a lot better. I did enjoy elements of it.
Yeah, now, talking about it more, I mean, I maybe watch it again and I go, no, this is terrible. But talking about it, I've enjoyed talking about it more than watching it, I think.
Yeah.
I do think the ending could have been better if he was running and it was dark. It was actually dark and he got out. Because it also would have made more sense.
Yeah.
That he's run out onto the road and the dudes just cleaned him up.
And he's like a stunned kangaroo.
Because that would also, because I think that's what they did to It goes full circle.
That's right.
The long weekend never ends.
You kill a kangaroo, you're going to get killed like a kangaroo.
Yeah, it would have been better if he just ran out, saw the headlights, was blinded, got run over. The dude runs up, looks at the kangaroo, then looks at his front bumper, sees like part of a long neck on it, and then drives off.
Can I tell you something about this movie that is going to blow your mind?
Because I know you're going to end this movie.
No, I'm not.
You can't say, I'm going to blow your mind. When have you ever said that? That's not. They're not words that I've ever heard come out of your mouth in the entire time that we have been acquainted.
Look, it's something that I always say. But this movie also has animal abuse in it. And it might not be what you think it is.
It's a 5 out of 10 for me, just before we go, because I know you're about to wrap this up.
I'm not going to wrap it up.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you about the animal abuse in this movie so like people can know to like stay away from it.
Does it?
Uh-huh. The possum. Because I was sitting there like thinking like this is a trained possum.
Well, I was thinking
possum going slow, dude.
Because I was looking at a lot of the shots of the animals and I was thinking, oh, maybe they just were out there waiting for shots of animals.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny how the possum attacked him and also the eagle attacked him. But in saying that, that's not nature fights. That's just, hey, you take an egg from an eagle nest, the eagle's going to be mad.
Yeah.
The possum, you provoke a possum, the possum's going to be mad.
The possum was tranquilized or sedated very heavily so that it would move slowly in the movie and that it would attack him slowly. So this man goes out there like with his tranquilized possum and then goes to grab it. And because it's tranquilized, like it doesn't move away. It stays there, and that's how they get the shot of this man getting bitten by a possum.
Oh, well, that's sad. They didn't even put a thing to say, hey, we checked with all the welfare, the animal rights welfare, and like this was done by professional possum hunters.
And the thing about a possum is, dude, I'm scared of possums.
Yeah, I see them a lot because I go for walks at night, and sometimes I've just seen them, and they're just in the tree, and I just look at them, and they look at me.
And they look at you the same way you're looking at them.
Yeah, and I'm going like, if you run, I'll run. And they run, and I run.
Did I tell you about the time I was running and this thing just jumped out of a bush like in front of me? Like I'm talking about between me and you as I'm running.
Yeah.
Like this thing jumps out and starts running across the road.
And someone came out and was just like round one.
Dude, I was ready. Yeah, dude. Because I was ready to start fly kicking things.
You came bare shirted or whatever that thing that Tony Abbott did.
Have you, our shirt fronted that person.
You shirt fronted that possum.
Have you ever seen a man like leap like a cat? Because that's what happened to me. Like, cats just like leap up, like when they get scared. They don't leap forward, backwards.
You did that.
Dude, I leapt.
Yeah.
Because this thing just jumped out. I think it was a cat in the end.
Okay.
But, possums scare me because I always have this thought, if I'm running at night and I'm going home, I'm a bold man, right? A possum lands on my head, just starts scratching my head up. I got to go to Doc Schwartz. Get a shot for that.
I mean, all you got to do is get a nice hat.
I will say that this movie is... I'm going to give it a flat 5.
I think a 5 is good. I'll say this podcast is probably a 9. This podcast.
Like a 9 worth energy?
No, just like a 9 out of 10 podcast.
Because you're enjoying it.
I'm enjoying the podcast and I'm enjoying talking about this movie on this podcast.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's what it's all about.
But I got one thing to tell you.
Yeah.
And it'll blow your mind. Talk soon.